Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering separating the art from the artist. In this episode, RoShawn and I are going to talk about the developments over the last 5 years since we finished covering Harry Potter and how we're feeling now. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
So, RoShawn and I have talked about how we're going to approach this because, y'all, it has been a long time since we recorded our last Harry Potter episodes. The reread went on a couple of years beyond when we posted the last public episodes, but nevertheless, it's been at least like 4 years, I think, maybe.
Yeah, 4, almost
somewhere
5.
in there. And shit really began to pop off in the last 3. So our feelings surrounding the series began to undergo a major shift after we were done covering it. And it was a kind of an odd place for us to be because we began to feel really differently about the series and J.K. Rowling, but we have this huge body of work that is out there for people to listen to where we are celebrating it. And RoShawn and I both have really complicated feelings about that. And I would be really interested to hear how y'all feel, because I have gotten some feedback from people who feel that it's really nice to have a way to engage with the books that isn't engaging with the actual licensed material or giving money to J.K. Rowling. But it does, as RoShawn and I talked about before we started, there's a feeling of like, am I just being kind of hypocritical about this? And my main reason for wanting to record about this today was to give y'all an update on where we are, because the Hogwarts Legacy game is going to be dropping in a couple days. And I'm just really curious how everybody out there has been feeling and let you all know what has changed for the two of us. So this is tough because, you know, I'm meant to like lead this conversation, and RoShawn and I think you all are going to know how we feel, but it's particularly, it's like almost embarrassing for me, RoShawn, because I like brought you into this universe and got you hype with it. And then she just like turned around and did this. And I feel like I had like a racist aunt who just completely showed her ass at my family dinner or something in front of you.
Yep. I could have just minded my business and not had a dog in this race.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are.
Yeah.
So I remember coming into this world, into these books, into this fandom, and one of the things that the fans and you were really, really excited about was not just the books, but her specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that listened to the show couldn't wait to tell me, you know, I couldn't follow her on Twitter because of spoilers, but people would send me screenshots of her saying all the right shit all the time. People loved her on Twitter. So that was she was a big part of my introduction to Harry Potter in a way that may not have been the case if you were a reader back in the day, away from the internet. We would have long discussions in the podcast about her as a person and her take on things that were happening in real time, especially once Trump was elected here in the US, because she was a pretty prolific tweeter of just clowning him. And people love that. So they're very connected for me, her and the books and the world. I got to know them both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to say that complicates the separating of the art and the artist for me in this case. Mm-hmm. I have plenty of examples in my own life, like we all do. And I was telling Tosh ahead of time before we recorded that, like, none of us anywhere get it 100% right 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've got plenty of artists that I still have trouble reconciling my love for their work and who they may have been or may have turned out to be in real life. But for me, for this one, they are so inextricably tied that I can't really enjoy anything from this world in a way that feels okay for me anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am at also. And, the issue of late that has been at the forefront of everything is the video game, because it's a licensed property thing. And this is one of those things where I feel like it's not that complicated. What we feel like we want to do with our podcast, whether we should take it down, whether or not, me continuing to profit off of that work, that's really thorny and tangled and complicated. The issue of whether to continue to buy licensed stuff, to me, is very uncomplicated. And it's just a straight up no. And I really have been kind of disappointed at seeing not only individuals, but there are so many outlets that review video games, so many Twitch streamers and stuff that I have heard about recently, who otherwise they claim to be supportive and allies, but they are still playing the game. They are still reviewing the game. After sometimes there was one particular case, somebody that I retweeted, who they had gotten feedback from trans people asking them to please not. And they not only went ahead and reviewed it anyway, they posted an article about why it was fine that they were reviewing it anyway, separate from the review itself. Which I really think, when you get to a place where you have to sort of explain why it's fine, you're doing that because it's not fine. And this is where you run into the issue with the podcast as well. But I just feel like for right after everything began to really crystallize, because there was some suspicions about where JK stood, and we all were so convinced she couldn't be this backward that we were willing to give her the benefit of the doubt when she made excuses about how she just didn't understand what it meant to heart something on Twitter, or that she didn't understand the full meaning of a thing that she retweeted. And coming to find out what her views actually are, and knowing that she was just flat out lying at that point. Also, it just feels like such a violation of what I thought she stood for. But then you take a step back And this is something else that RoShawn and I have both experienced in the past few years. And people have been sharing more in-depth critical reads of the series. And this is not to say that RoShawn and I didn't criticize certain aspects of the way JK portrayed stuff. Thank God RoShawn you were way more sensitive to the anti-Semitism of the goblins, which had not even occurred to me.
Yeah.
And brought it up because, like, genuinely, I did not clock that at all. So we had a talk about that, and it was one of the first times that I had really engaged with that kind of like, maybe this is problematic, and was this like purposeful or not, and does it matter? But then over time, because people have started to realize maybe she does have like some really bigoted views about some things, we've taken a less kind view of some of what's actually in the work, and are beginning to come to the conclusion that while the series may mean a lot to us, it's not necessarily great. It's just that we care about it. And of course, that's what makes it really hard when you have something that you're attached to, especially nostalgic, to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, the feelings that get all tangled up there.
Yeah. And I think that what further complicates, I hate to keep using the word complicated, y'all. I mean, if like you use it a bunch of times, but really it's fucking complicated.
It's the word, yeah.
Because there are so many different, like intersections here with, the type of fandom that existed and found a home and space and safety is like a subset of the greater fandom, being filled with like just a bunch of like queer, indie fucking weirdos and wackadoos. We all kind of found like a home in this world, right? And then to have such a vulnerable community find space and safety in this community, and then have her turn around and target some of those same people, was just so like unexpected. And then you have, it's complicated because a lot of times when you have this art and artist separation conversation, she is still very much alive. Mm-hmm. She's still very much profiting, not just monetarily, but capital just on her name, and still has this incredibly large platform where she is engaged in actively harming people on a daily basis. Yeah. This isn't just someone with a shitty personal opinion. This is someone with a shitty personal opinion that has enough power behind her to like enact change, to affect change. So when we have our little, like our, deep conversations about separating the art from the artist, you have to also keep in mind where the artist is and how, how much harm are they able to do. Long Dead, for me, is a personal guy. I would never expect anybody else to operate this way. But for me, if the artist is dead and long gone and not actively harming anyone, then I'm more likely able to do the separation.
Sure.
But she is tweeting every day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
She is making very powerful friends that advance this very destructive agenda. So, I mean, I just take that for what you will, I guess. But
she wrote this essay and it was quoted in an anti-trans bathroom bill, like a direct quote of hers used to try and legislate bigoted laws. There are so many people that are just like, well, just because she disagrees with you, it is not she disagrees with me. It is, she is trying to oppress. And like, you know, she never voiced any problem with her quote being used that way, because why would she? It was, the whole essay was written for the express purpose of making it clear that she is a TERF. And I just don't understand how people can continue to say it's just a disagreement. It's just a matter of opinion. That's not what something of this caliber qualifies as anymore. She's taken it to another level. And like you said, because of where she stands socially, her opinion isn't that simple anymore. She's got a platform and power and money. God, the money she's got. It's, you can't sit back and act as if she is just some goof off in a corner talking to herself like a troll on Reddit. She is out here actually changing things, and that's real and going to keep happening. And she takes the fact that people are continuing to support her as implicit support of her position. That's what it comes down to for me.
The most damning thing is that it is difficult to build a case that we won't tolerate her behavior. You know, that we find it reprehensible, and then the other person says, "Well, you know, 80 million people disagree." You know, why would they take us seriously?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And like, as far as separating the art from the artist, and those of you who don't follow Chuck Tingle, the author, on Facebook, I really recommend it. But I had like held off from talking about this a lot because I had a difficult time verbalizing how I was feeling, and just had so many conflicting thoughts, and was so unsure of my own position and everything because of what I do for work and for what I did for the book series. But he made a really great point in a post about a week ago where he said, you know, people talk about separating the art from the artist as if your feelings about the artist aren't going to be part of the art. And the point of art is to make you feel a thing. The point of art is to give you an experience. And if you feel a way about the artist, that will likely affect how you feel about the art. And there's no separating that most of the time. And that's not really the point of art, to be able to separate that, which I tend to agree with. Ooh, excuse me. Oof.
All right.
Hold on.
Clock it
down. I feel like I have heard people talk about being able to do that as if you can simply ignore the source of this work that you love. But I packed up all of my Harry Potter stuff in my office, and I'm donating a lot of it, or just putting things in storage that I don't want to just like get rid of. Because knowing how she feels about a community that I care about has utterly changed how I feel when I look at these books, these decor items, whatever. I can't just turn that off. And if you're able to turn that off, I guess I simply can't do that. I feel like they're part and parcel. The artist is out here showing who they really are.
I have a different sort of experience with that, based on, I mean, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a fucking shitty person, but I think because I have I grew up with an expectation that the more I knew about the people who wrote the books I liked, the less I would like them.
Mm.
I grew up with an expectation of the people that wrote the books I liked probably didn't like people like me.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had a head start, I guess, in understanding that I can open a book and I can take the story and the story can be mine, and I don't have to know anything about the person that wrote it. I won't have any real feelings about the person that wrote it one way or the other, as a sort of protection, because otherwise, what could I enjoy? I was reading almost all white, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So, however, that's just an aside, but you just made me think about that because I hadn't really thought about it that way before. But yeah, no, I had to go into, for the most part, being like, yeah, I'm here just for the story,
Right?
Because 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna flip over and ask about, oh, tell me about this writer, and what I'm gonna hear back is not gonna be great.
Yeah, that's true. That didn't really occur to me, but it makes a lot of sense that you would have to just approach everything differently. And yet, that's kind of like when it comes down to stuff like this. I mean, I feel like we're all going to have to start getting a lot more used to turning our back on some things, because with the way that information travels now, it's just going to happen more often that we find out things that we don't like about creators of work that we otherwise love.
Yeah. I think everybody will have to, come to, I think it's going to be very personal for everybody, and there's going to be different degrees of it, and people will come to it differently, trying to find a place where they can be comfortable, a place where you're not like embarrassed to be, you don't feel shame about your actions, I guess is what I'm saying. Like if you feel embarrassed to tell your friends, especially your trans friends, non-binary friends, and other marginalized people, that I still rock with it. If you can't say it out loud with your chest, then I think you already got your answer.
Yeah, that's to me, that's like kind of where I'm just coming down on this particular issue with the video game, especially. Look, y'all,
I was so surprised how many people said people were playing it and streaming it. I was, guys, I'm not a video person. I did Wizards Unite, and that was like not the last video game I have, because but I really don't play them a lot. I'm all into Wildflowers now, but
nice.
but fuck, lost my train of thought. But this game, I thought that everybody had agreed that they weren't playing this game like months ago, because I have my little fucking bubble that I like my bubble, and I don't like when it gets burst. Yep. And then to the last day or so, it's been getting burst because people in my bubble are existing in their own worlds and reporting back from their own front lines. So I don't Twitch, I don't watch streamers, but apparently lots of people do. And people were just so fucking bummed out or are heartbroken or like furious that like their favorites are gonna like engage with this game in that way.
Yeah, it's been this is sort of where it's at for me with you talking about like if you can't say it with your chest. I feel like a lot of people just stayed out of the conversation leading up to it because they didn't want to face the uncomfortable conversations with people asking, really? Like, you can't just give up this one game? And decided that they were going to smooth sail right past it and hope that it wasn't an issue once the game actually came out. And look, everybody has to figure out how they're going to deal with their own attachment to the fandom. It's all, like you said, very personal. But I feel like with things like this, it is pretty fucking cut and dried. Don't give her your money. And I don't want to hear it about how, well, what about the game developers? They got paid already. If her name is on it, she's making money off it. It is that simple. And sure, she has more money than God already. Do I think it necessarily financially hurts her? No, but that's not really the point. The point is whether or not something has a material effect that is like significant. Are you gonna do the right thing and just give up something in the scope of things so triflingly small to make a statement that you give a shit about people? That's really all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you care about people enough to make a sacrifice like this that is really quite minor, you know? And I understand, well, I've been waiting forever for a game like this to come out. Yes. I'm not saying it's not going to be difficult. Like, when I heard that they were making a proper game, it was after all of the shit had gone down, and I was devastated because I would have been so into this game. And to, you know, I knew already, well, there's no fucking way I'm doing it, but this sucks. But y'all, if you are saying that you are an ally and that you are here for people, and the moment you're asked to do anything that makes you sad, you just don't. What good are you? Like, what good are you? What are you doing? Nothing. You're just wanting the cookies and you're not wanting to have to like do anything to actually earn them. Ask yourself whether like you're okay with talking about the fact that you are playing this or even conflicted about it. It just, whatever, this is the rule that I have just been trying to live by for the past few years, is like, if people that I admire got to see my actions in this moment, would I be okay with that? Or would I be embarrassed? And then you sort of have to go from there. But I just don't see it for the arguments about how like, well, she's not even making any money off of it. Like, it's just not about those little technical details. You're trying to come up with technicalities to rationalize why something that hurts friends shouldn't hurt them. And you don't get to make that decision for them. If they're hurt by seeing you support something that is based on a world created by a person who does not care about them and actively pursues their oppression, you don't get to say, well, this doesn't really count. It counts to them. It's just not that complicated in this sense, you know?
There's not a lot of opportunities that we will get in our lifetimes, no matter how grand we envision, you know, our futures to be. There's not going to be a lot of big moments and grand gestures for most of us.
Mm-hmm.
But there are always small opportunities to do and be about what we say we do and what the fuck we say we be about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those moments. That's all.
Yep. There was oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's pretty much it.
There was a meme going around where some monk had come in to like give us a talk at a university, and he wrote on the board, everybody wants a better world, but nobody wants to help do the dishes. And the point was just basically, we have these like grand ideas about huge confrontations where you have to make a stand and it's really dramatic. It's often not that. It's just decisions like this. It's decisions like, are you going to tell your friend, hey, that's not cool? What is that? Don't say that. It's little moments like that and adding that up. It's not, you're rarely going to get moments to really like have the music swell behind you as you put one foot up and brace your fists on your hips while the American flag unrolls behind you, snapping in the wind. Like, that's just not really most of our lives. And if you're waiting for those moments, that's called performance. If you aren't able to put your money where your mouth is on a daily basis, but you're waiting for big moments where you can kind of show off, that's performative allyship, and that's really just not that useful. And also, as an aside, the video game is about suppressing goblin rebellions. The video game is endorsing, suppressing the rebellion of an oppressed class. You are cops. Literally, you are cops.
Is that
going
right?
After an oppressed class.
I had read a little bit about like it's supposed to be like, you know, squashing the rebellion, but I didn't really think much. So everybody is you're cops in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you're kind of cops in the books too, huh? Low key.
Yeah. I mean, Harry, as if people have pointed out, married his high school sweetheart and graduated and became a cop.
No, well, yeah. But I meant even before that, like just straight up throughout the course of the books, they're low key just cops.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's a different podcast. If I had any interest in talking about her anymore, we could do a whole other series.
Right?
But I just don't have any interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. I mean, you know, I'm not the boss of y'all. But I'm glad that Natasha decided to take a little bit of time out just so you could hear where we are. I'm glad we did the podcast. I enjoyed it. I'm very proud of the work that we did. It was so much fun. I don't regret it. I don't like wish it didn't happen, even though the joke is really funny about how you sucked me into all this nonsense.
I'm so sorry.
But like if I just held out a couple more years, she would have fucking showed her true colors, and I'd have been fine. But I don't regret it. You know, I think it sucks that she chose to be a shitty human being.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think it sucks that she chose this.
Yeah.
This is not something that happened to her. Even people say, oh, you know, she got recruited and groomed and, you know, whatever. Be that as it may.
She was a grown woman. Wait, what?
Exactly. Oh, well, yeah, there's a whole other thing that she got like in with like a certain type of woman that exists. You know, not of a certain privilege, of a certain race, and then she got into these like conversations with them because she didn't realize they weren't just, you know, regular like second wave feminists like she is, you know. She didn't realize until she was in too deep is a thing that I have heard.
Oh, God. Let her stand by what the fuck she's standing by.
But I mean, she stands by just fine now. So, but my point is, that's what I think sucks. I think that she chose to be a shitty, hateful, dangerous person. And, you know, it sucks that she ruined an entire franchise with her nonsense. But she did that. No one else did it. You can't blame a community for being attacked. You can't blame a trans community for, you know, being upset and hurt and demanding that we do the bare minimum, you know. It's not their fault. She did this. All the blame lies directly at her feet. It didn't have to be like this.
Yeah, that's it. It didn't have like, and look, I do not endorse this, but there is a part of me that is always like, why can't people just keep their mouths shut? If you have hideous viewpoints and you just don't say them, I will never know you're hideous and to avoid supporting you. But everybody is just very confident they're going to get support, and then they do. And then they keep getting people buying their video game anyway, and they're proved right. So they feel that, yeah, the world does mostly agree with me. And
you know what? Even if the world does mostly agree with her, then they can just all fucking be wrong together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I just, there was an argument that I saw because like I have just seen so many comment threads about all of this recently. So I always have been bringing up sort of the counter arguments that I see. And one of the big ones is there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. But guys, there's no ethical consumption isn't about whipped cream like a video game. It's about we are needing to eat and clothe ourselves, and we're doing that within the confines of a capitalist hellscape, and we just have to do what we can.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But when it comes to this, and like it's just such a specific situation to try and cite something like that, that's
That's weak sauce.
That's weak sauce. Perfect. Yes. That sauce is indeed quite weak. So anyway, I just wanted to say this, and like, look, people are probably going to come at me about just putting this out there at all. I don't want to hear it. I really don't. Like, if you have an issue with me, that's your issue, and look at it and leave me out of it. I don't want to. There's something I retweeted today about people. We're being bullied for playing the game. No, people are just telling you what they feel about you doing this. And that's not bullying. That's just getting to have an opinion on your actions. And if you keep being told that you're shitty and you're just not going to hear it, that doesn't count. That's not bullying. People have to use the word bullying for just being like told about themselves. It's not bullying, guys. Bullying is using your giant platform to completely deny the identities of people. That's what bullying is.
Yeah, people really don't understand what bullying is. That's a word that just kind of has just been, I don't know, like just drained of all meaning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a real shame the internet keeps doing that.
It does, though, doesn't it?
It sure does.
So many words that they started off and I was like, oh, perfect. And now 3 years on, I'm just like, ooh, man, when I hear that word, I get twitchy.
I can't even use the word gaslighting anymore, even though it's usually appropriate for what the fuck I'm talking about. Can't use it.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up, but I hope you guys understand where we're coming from on this. Once again, pretty interested to hear your thoughts about keeping up the episodes, just, how you feel about that. And don't buy the game. Don't buy licensed stuff. If you really want to keep engaging with it, go and get something through like Akio Box or people on Etsy who make things themselves. Just keep it out of her pocket. That's really what I'm asking.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people who, even within the trans community, that still engage, with the content. And a lot of times I see posts saying, like, they're making their own stuff now,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Shops are popping up and people are making their own shit. So I just think that there's a way, if these books still have meaning for you in a way that brings you joy and comfort, I think there are ways that you can still engage in it without directly adding to the harm,
Exactly. Yeah.
And if the podcast turns out to be that for some people, then like, I'm cool with that. I'm comfortable with that. If it doesn't, I guess we'll hear what the people have to say. But yeah, just stop giving her money, y'all. I think that's really, you could have just called this "Stop Giving Her Money," and that could have just been the whole recording.
Well, yeah, we love you very much, and I hope that if you are feeling like I miss this show, but I don't want to engage with Harry Potter stuff anymore, come over and listen to me and Rashawn talking about Ray Bearer, which we
oh my god, it's so
covering.
good.
It's really
so
good, you guys. Listen to her and I talking about Song of Ice and Fire if you want to hear some depressing stuff. We also covered Ted Lasso if you're looking for some happiness, and we'll be going back to it when the third season comes out. So RoShawn and I are
Eventually-
recording all sorts of stuff.
Eventually, there will be another Dresden book.
Another Dresden, indeed. You could
we'll
go
be
over to
back-
Dresden Files.
We're back on that horse.
A different Wizard Harry for
Mhm,
a nice, easy transition for those of you who might be having some withdrawals. And soon, we're not recording on this, but if you listen to Song of Ice and Fire, you will be hearing many, many references to Succession, which RoShawn and I are both low-key obsessed with in the next
You guys
seasons
have
coming
gotta watch. It's so good.
That fucking show just like ran my life when it was out, and it's about to start it up all again.
I'll tell you
watch
what.
it 1 week at a time. What the fuck?
You fucking watch those people, and then it'll like stoke your hatred for JK. Just direct, like watch these rich fucking asshole bastards, and then just scooch it over a little bit.
Just a little tippy tap, and there it is. So, yeah, I hope that you guys will follow us to those and listen to those. And, if you just go to the Unspoiled website, you'll see all kinds of stuff I'm covering for Spoil Me too, which has been really fun. And that's how I found out about Raybearer and how I started covering Cradle, which we'll be doing after Raybearer. So even though RoShawn won't be on those, it's just me for Spoil Me's. I don't know, maybe I'm enough.
I think they have had enough of me, quite frankly, and enjoy
doubt that.
their little mini vacations when they follow you over to Spoil Me.
Did you guys hear this? You are so wrong. That is so wrong. I don't even know where to start on that. Wrong.
Not my best take.
All right, guys.
Kids.
We'll see you around. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Your body is yours at the end of the day. And don't let the hateful try and take it away. We want to be free, yeah, we go our own way. And our body was made.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.